It's Black History Month. I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm okay. I'm done.
Holla at your boy, we doing anime review. Yeah. Holla at your boy, we doing anime review. Yeah. Holla at your boy, we doing anime review. Yeah. Holla at your boy, we doing anime review. Yeah.
So it's Black History Month, and before I start this episode, I'd like to monologue a bit. Well, I'm gonna monologue for a while. History is important, and to be quite honest with you, there's no one reliable way of maintaining history. Houses burn down, libraries get demolished, books get tossed, films get lost to time, and what happens most commonly is concepts and events disappear from the collective consciousness. And it's unfortunate because, one, it's just good to know things in general, right? You need a general body of knowledge. Two, we tend to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again without learning. Maybe if people knew a bit more, they would make better decisions. Also, to be quite honest with you, it feels like every time we have a major breakthrough in society, we kind of end up stumbling back into the Stone Ages a bit. And with regard to African American history, I think as a community, we're in a very weird space right now. We've lived in the United States since Jamestown in the early 1600s, which is far longer than almost any ethnic group. And like most ethnic groups that are present from the early stages of a country's founding, you can see some influence from the African American community here and there in nearly everything from film, music, literature, education, laws, literally everything. You also see this type of thing in societies like Singapore that were relatively pluralistic from their founding. There's a very interesting degree to which you can see everybody in that country sort of influencing it in how they run, their culture, their food, their language, everything. But I don't necessarily think that means much in the grand scheme of things. I would love to be proven wrong, but especially nowadays, it feels like the only history that matters is that which is preferred by those who are in power or their selected buffer classes. You see this in everything. Everything from the consumption of historical narratives that are either made specifically to sanitize events or the suppression and erasure of history entirely. So it's like, dang. And think about this. We have more access to information and knowledge than ever before, but it feels like we missed the critical inflection point that would have allowed us to properly reckon with and deal with this nation's history regarding African Americans, both the negative side and the positive side. We didn't deal with either of those properly. And I'd like to bring up a very interesting article that I read in CNN many years ago. It was called Why Don't Whites Have Black Friends by Tanner Colby. It dropped in 2013 and was essentially how a Reuters survey stated that 40% of white Americans had zero non white friends, and only 20% of them had five or more non white friends. I at the time thought that sounded crazy, but it kind of makes sense. And he said the following, and this stuck with me forever. The Reuters survey itself is misleading, lumping all minorities together under the vague heading of non white. Depending on what part of the country you live in, example, anywhere but Minnesota and Wyoming, it's not uncommon to have Asian or Hispanic friends. But the social divide between whites and those groups is more of a function of slow rolling generational processes of immigration and immigrant assimilation. That is a wholly different phenomenon from the social divide between whites and blacks, which is the product of 400 years of slavery and segregation. That's the social divide we should worry about, and if the poll had focused on that, the numbers surely would have been worse. Essentially, he's saying that if that poll had focused specifically on African Americans, it would have been very easy for them to have zero friends of that demographic. He posits that other groups are experiencing a slow process of immigrant assimilation, which I would say I agree with, whereas the process for African Americans makes no logical sense. A group that's been here for 500 years shouldn't have any problem assimilating into the other group or mixing with them, making friends, making community with them. So there must be something deeper at play, which makes a lot of sense. Ultimately, I really do think there's a lot of truth to this. There's some sort of deep-seated backwards ideology that prevents a lot of non-black people from having any interest in African American history as a regular thing, or that causes them to want to actively try to erase it. That and the fact that the negative parts of African American history would make a lot of people look bad, it would make a lot of their success and gains in life look ill-gotten and cheated, and it would change the way we view society as a whole. And when we talk about the small subsection of African American history and culture that is talked about and celebrated, we literally every single day see efforts to make a version of it without any African Americans present. Think about that. The small part of your history that they like, they want to make a version of it without you in it. And that's the version that's making people rich today. Man, I'm sure that's happened to some other demographic before, but I think it's notably grotesque. That being said, I don't have the solution to any of these problems, and please don't come to me asking me what I think we should do. I don't know. I applaud whoever takes on the Sisyphean task of trying to solve any of these problems. Now, with that in mind, let's get on to the rest of the video. As a black man born in America, The two people I think of most when it comes to animation are LeSean Thomas and McGruder. Let's start off with LeSean. He's done it all. So LeSean is a Tokyo-based animator that worked on Lizzie McGuire, Kim Possible, Ben 10, Korra, The Boondocks, and more. He's very well known for his shows Cannon Busters and Yasuke. His life is honestly the anime fan's dream. Be a big enough weeaboo to pack your bags and move to Japan. Not only that, you become a successful anime creator and mangaka. That's the life millions of people want to live. And LeSean has done it all, already. Must be nice, right? When I was a teenager, I honestly wanted to be just like him despite my lack of artistic talent anywhere in my body. For my next individual, I'd like to show some love for McGruder. Not only for his creation of the Boondocks political cartoon and TV series, but also as just a thinker and somebody who has a very eloquent way of conveying complex ideas. Aaron, in a way, predicted a lot of the conditions we currently face today. He theorized that things would begin to look a lot stranger. And if you think about it, the sort of building blocks of a completely broken society that he was describing 20 years ago probably should have been obvious to most people, but, you know, like with a pair of shoes, people only replace them when the bottom falls out. A lot of people only replace their tires when they're popped, and that's where we are. But yeah, this video is a slight departure from my typical content because I wanted to feel accomplished by doing something meaningful this Black History Month, and I guess this is it. So my recommendation for today is Kino's Journey. This is a beautiful anime, and is one of the most well-made anime I've ever seen. It kind of helped me to develop my little traveler/hermit mindset where I kind of watch what's happening in the world. I try to understand, but I ultimately don't let it bother me too much because there's only so much I can do. I try to talk to people where I can, but at the end of the day, I'm just a guy, man. And well, that's it. Happy Black History Month. I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black.
Holla at your boy, we doing anime review. Yeah. Holla at your boy, we doing anime review. Yeah. Holla at your boy, we doing anime review. Yeah. Holla at your boy, we doing anime reviews.